January 12, 1945. The skies over the Philippine Sea stretched in a cold, muted expanse, painted with the gray of early morning mist. The hum of engines cut through the silence, a mechanical chorus from the flight decks below. Japanese pilots, young and resolute, gripped their controls tightly, eyes scanning the horizon for the American formations they had been trained to confront. The scent of oil and salt-laden air clung to the deck, mingling with the faint tang of sweat beneath their flight gear. A sense of inevitability hung in the atmosphere, as if the ocean itself anticipated the clash of wings and steel. For years, the Japanese Imperial Navy had dominated the skies with precision and doctrine. Fighter pilots, disciplined and confident, relied on timing, formation, and surprise. They had been trained to expect enemy anti-aircraft fire in predictable patterns, shells that followed arcs and bursts they could learn to evade. The aerial dogfights over the Pacific were a ballet of skill and daring, where life and death often hung on split-second maneuvers. But on this morning, the rules would change in a manner they had never anticipated. The American forces, having learned the brutal lessons of Guadalcanal and the Solomons, had refined their artillery to a terrifying degree. Among their secret innovations was the proximity fuse, a small yet revolutionary device fitted to anti-aircraft shells. Unlike traditional ordnance, these fuses did not require a direct hit to kill. They sensed the presence of a target and detonated automatically in close proximity, showering the sky with lethal fragments. To the Japanese pilots, accustomed to dodging the predictable burst of flak, this was a terror that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at all once. As the first wave of U.S. anti-aircraft fire erupted, Japanese pilots felt a shock unlike any they had known. Shells detonated mid-air, ripping through formations that had once seemed invulnerable. Captain Hiroshi Tanaka later wrote in his journal, "It was as if the sky itself betrayed us, raining death from invisible hands. Our tactics, honed over years of training, were powerless. I saw comrades vanish before my eyes, their planes torn apart in bursts of metal and fire." Official American after-action reports confirm that the introduction of proximity fuses increased the effectiveness of anti-aircraft fire by over 300%, creating a barrier that even the most experienced Japanese pilots could not penetrate. This moment marked more than just a tactical evolution. It symbolized a psychological rupture. The pilots, once confident in their mastery of the skies, were forced to confront an unfamiliar reality. Expectation collided with devastation, hope with inevitability. The hum of engines became a fragile heartbeat against the staccato thunder of shells exploding mid-air. Each burst illuminated the contrast between what was expected, a predictable, survivable challenge, and what was delivered, indiscriminate, inescapable destruction. The proximity fuse itself became a symbol of American ingenuity, representing a form of abundance that extended beyond material wealth to technological dominance. In the hands of the U.S. Navy, it embodied both the industrial power and the strategic foresight that had become hallmarks of the American war effort. As Japanese pilots struggled to maintain formation, the fuse was a silent reminder that the tide of war had shifted. It was not brute force alone, but a fusion of intellect and industry that now dictated the terms of survival. Records from U.S. Navy archives reveal the calculated deployment of these fuses during naval engagements off Luzon and Leyte. One report notes, "The employment of proximity-fused shells against massed aerial formations has resulted in a significant reduction in enemy sorties, with minimal American aircraft losses." The data is stark, but within it lies a deeper truth. Warfare had become as much a contest of innovation as of courage. The Japanese pilots' personal accounts, juxtaposed with these records, illustrate the human dimension of technological dominance: fear, awe, and the sudden collapse of previously unshakable confidence. As the battle raged on, some pilots attempted daring maneuvers, weaving and diving in desperate evasion. yet each effort met with the same merciless outcome. It was a new kind of aerial calculus where human skill alone could no longer guarantee survival. Survivors would later recount the eerie quiet after the storm of detonations, the empty sky a canvas smeared with smoke trails and burning wreckage. It was here, in this silence, that the transformation took root. The once feared Japanese ace began to recognize the vast industrial and intellectual resources marshaled by the United States. Strategy now relied not merely on the valor of individual men, but on the capacity to innovate, produce, and sustain technological advantage across oceans. In the broader context of the war, the introduction of proximity fuses reflected a philosophical as well as military turning point. It demonstrated how American ingenuity, combined with an abundance of resources, could overcome even the most disciplined and formidable opposition. The symbolic resonance of these devices, a small, unassuming shell capable of devastating entire formations, mirrored the larger narrative of democratic resilience. From small innovations, monumental effects arise. From careful preparation, freedom and survival are secured. Even decades later, the echoes of that morning remain in historical memory. Veterans on both sides have described the awe-inspiring lethality of the fuse, the way it transformed the sky into a theater of relentless, almost impersonal judgment. Yet within that devastation lies a paradoxical beauty, the precise engineering, the flawless execution, and the affirmation of an idea that ingenuity can safeguard lives by changing the terms of conflict itself. January 12, 1945 became more than a date in military annals. It became a testament to the power of invention to redefine human struggle. The Japanese pilots, once masters of the sky, were confronted by a force that transcended skill alone. Their experience embodies the collision of expectation with reality, fear with clarity, tradition with transformation. In this collision, the proximity fuse emerges as a symbol, small in size yet vast in its implications, a mechanical spark that illuminates the broader truth of human endeavor, freedom, and the pursuit of survival through ingenuity. And as the sun set over the Philippine Sea that day, painting the waters in hues of molten gold, the sky bore silent witness to the new order of warfare. It was a moment that etched itself into memory, not only as a tale of loss and devastation, but as a reminder that abundance, whether in material, technological, or intellectual form, can shift the tides of history. The hum of engines, once a simple soundtrack of human skill, now echoed with the resonance of innovation, and the fates of those who soared into the dawn would never again be measured solely by courage, but by the ingenuity that governs the art of survival.